Hey guys, I hope everyone is doing really good today. It's go do your own research. If you're new to my channel, welcome to the party. No, this is actually going to be, it's a really serious, sad story that we're going to be talking about tonight. But if you haven't watched any of my videos before this and you've clicked on this video, I have made a lot of content about smear campaigns, about astroturfing, about legal cases where they have shown evidence of how this works. So I feel like this is almost becoming like my specialist subject. And I didn't want to make a video about Jason Arday just for the sake of it. Like, obviously it's a super tragic story. I saw there was just so much content going on about it, and obviously he's a black guy, and he actually is from the same area where I live, which is crazy. Like, my daughter went to school in this area, in the same area, so we were actually thinking about it. We were talking about it today, and we were like trying to wonder what school he went to. So yeah, I'd seen that it was like the biggest story from the last couple of weeks. I guess it's more than a couple of weeks, and I didn't really feel like I have anything to add to the story. You know, I didn't want to watch the clickbait videos, so I was kind of just waiting to see what was going to happen or what was going on. And then I come across this post. It was a couple of days ago, actually, and I was like, okay. So then I started to do a little bit of research, and I did actually, I guess I might have seen about maybe 2 other videos that are actually decent about this topic. The majority of them, people are just cashing in, as we're going to look at. So hopefully I'm adding something to the conversation that I definitely don't think people in those videos that I have watched have mentioned, but it is something that is a very familiar territory to me. So let me tell you what I'm talking about right now. So I've seen this post. Let me just get on it. So it was actually someone who is she a public figure? Yeah, she's kind of like, she does like confidence coaching, I think. So I've actually followed her for years. I used to follow her on Twitter when I used to have it, and then she's actually on LinkedIn. So I saw this on LinkedIn of all places. But it automatically stood out to me. I was like, wow. So she said, I want to emphasize here, given that the Times and Telegraph were running paid social ads about Jason Arday on the day of his death to generate clicks, that if you work in the digital teams for any of these media titles, you are complicit in not only the targeted campaign of harassment of a black man, but you played a role in his death. This is a really big thing to say, but it's also an accurate thing to say. And then someone said, well done saying it. So as soon as I saw they paid for paid social ads on the day of his death to generate clicks, I immediately thought about, and I probably, this is going to sound weird to people that don't know about this, but this happened in the Amber Heard trial, and I posted about it in another video where I spoke about the whole Cambridge Analytica influence over social media and how entertainment stories mingle with politically charged content creators like Candace Owens. So people like Candace Owens during the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial were working for right-wing platforms, right-wing lobbying media platforms, think tanks, they're called. Now, let me just remember the name. It's not the Daily Beast, it's the other one. I think the Daily Beast is a left-wing one. Anyway, it was a famous right-wing propaganda channel, and they were paying for Facebook ads on the Amber Heard story. So I was like, wow, I haven't seen anyone else talking about this on the Jason Arday, but it immediately made sense to me, because I was like, this definitely looks like a smear campaign, 100%. Okay, so the comment was actually in response to this post that had been made on LinkedIn about it, which was by The Independent. And it said, if plagiarism sparks so much national outrage, because this all started over, I want to say someone, but it was some people. This was a coordinated harassment campaign, which started about him plagiarizing his dissertations for his professorship, which apparently now has been debunked. This is what I'm saying, there are videos showing that has been debunked, and that at the very best it was more of a, he didn't give the right credits to some of the authors that he had used in his papers. I'm not 100% up on how academia works, but that's my kind of understanding of it, was that they kind of over exaggerated that, this outrage about him being a plagiarist. And then they went to town on everything he'd ever said. So we're not going to get too much into that tonight, but this article said, as a vigil for Professor Jason Arday is held, award-winning barrister and senior research associate at Jesus College, Cambridge, Dr. Charlotte Proudman, examines the very different scrutiny faced by professors accused of sexual misconduct. So it points out that he was accused of plagiarism, like I said, not even really 100% proved. Because, most people want a headline, they want clicks and views, and they're not going to go and research and find out, well, actually how true that is that. Because you know what, this was genuinely geared to target racist people. And this is what I've been saying about all of the content about Meghan Markle. Like, forget about it. It's exactly the same thing. The reason why people make content about Meghan Markle is because they know it attracts racist people, and they know it's going to get clicks and views. So what does it say? 249 articles in 22 days. Why did they have to print it in red? Think of the visually impaired people like me. Yet professors accused of sexual misconduct are treated very differently. Yeah, it's not just professors, it's like TV presenters that are white, that are pedophiles, get allowed back on TV, get allowed back on Substack, which is where this kind of smear campaign sort of generated from. People, TV presenters who covered up murders, YouTube channels keep getting shown to me. Pisses me off so much, not mentioning any names. So yeah, they've got Jason Arday accused of plagiarism and misrepresenting aspects of his academic record. Simon Goldhill, found to have breached sexual and professional conduct rules. Peter Hutchinson, complaints of inappropriate sexual and sexist behaviour from 10 students. Look at the Epstein files. Like, I went through a lot of the Epstein files. That was all about how many academics that were getting their funding from Epstein were not only in league with him, like desperately wanting to go to his island, like he was setting them up with girls. Nothing's been said about it. Well, those people are still walking free. Miles Newston investigated over allegations of sexual harassment. Okay, so that was what she was responding in the comments to. So then I went and looked it up, because that's what I do over here on Go Do Your Own Research. I was like, okay, what evidence is there that they was paid for adverts? So then I came across this article, and it says, okay, what's the name of the title? News Cord. I forget. It's News Corp or newscord.org. So yeah, they did data investigation. News Cord, it says it right there, sorry. Published 14th of August 2026, last updated 18th August 2026. So yeah, I'm a little bit late on this story, but there's been a lot going on that I'm a little bit late on, and I can't do live streams every day. I just find it it's a bit too much for me. So I do want to do another one about a domestic violence true crime commentary channel that I just found out about as well. But that'll probably be in the next couple of days. Jason Arday told the press he was at the limits of what anyone should endure. It answered with 188 more articles. He is dead at 41. On 5th of August 2026, Jason Arday resigned from Cambridge, writing that he had reached the limits of what any person should reasonably be expected to endure. On 14th of August, he was found dead at his home in Battersea. Nobody knows yet how he died, and this page does not claim to. It counts what he was under every substantive written article the national press published about him, outlet by outlet and day by day, from the first Telegraph report to the 3:12 p.m. boundary on the day he was found. Later coverage is shown separately, right? So there you go, 229 articles in 22 days, 188. Like, some people have pointed out, like, no one had heard of this guy until this. And there's only one reason why this got so much press, and it's because he's black. In his last 9 days, after the limits of what any person should reasonably be expected to endure, and 42 from one outlet alone, the Times obituary included. One national article for the control case, adjudicated plagiarism, same university. Yeah. This is data. 229 articles in 22 days and 106 more since. We counted every distinct article substantively about Jason Arday. Every article is listed with its link in the table at the bottom of this page. Death day figures are flaws. The census was taken hours after his death was announced, while the follow-ups were still landing. even today, I'm going to show you on YouTube, there's people making videos about this. Don't watch them. I'm so annoyed. I seen a really good one, and I literally cannot remember who it was by, because it's a channel I've never watched before. But it was a black guy. And yeah, it doesn't come up in the search. Surprise, surprise. The Violet Band is what those same 15 outlets published after he was found. 106 articles up to 10th of August at 10:33, when the coverage turned on itself. The ambulance was called at 3:12 on 14th August. The former 240 row figure included one video-only page and 10 written articles published after that boundary. The video is supplementary evidence, and those later articles now sit in the Violet Band, not among the last things printed while he was alive. The chart keeps the original fixed set of 15 mastheads. That's obviously the banner heading across every period, 14 published before he was found, while the Daily Star first appears after the boundary. Wonder who leaked it. One honest finding up front: this was not a red top phenomenon. So red top in the UK, red top means like tabloids, the Sun, the Scum, the Mail, I think, comes under it. The Mirror, Daily Star. The Mirror ran one piece before the boundary. The Daily Star's one item in the former list arrived after it. So what they're saying is this wasn't a tabloid thing this time. This was the heavy hitters, the supposedly integral, well, they are currently, I think, when I say they, I think the government are currently, probably lobbied by them, are running a campaign that they want to be seen as trusted legacy media and get rid of anyone that doesn't support their narrative on social media platforms. But I'm talking about the BBC, Sky, obviously the Times and the Telegraph are mentioned as well, the Mail, the Spectator, and the Express. The Express, don't even get me started. Just such a low bar. So you can see the Telegraph and the Times are literally right at the top, even above the Mail. But this is all the data. So purple is after he was found. Red is his last day. And yellow is... oh, so grey is before his resignation. So look at the Telegraph, the Times and the Mail. And these papers hardly touched it. The Sun didn't even talk about him resigning. Then resignation to death. See, the tabloids are right down the bottom. Even Sky News is right down the bottom. Even GB News is low in this chart. Wow. So we've got the Telegraph, the Times, Daily Mail, the Independent. That was, I just showed you one of their articles. The Spectator, the Guardian, Daily Express, BBC News, Times Higher Education, GB News, The Sun, Metro, Sky News, Daily Mirror, Daily Star. So then it goes into like breakdowns of all the different articles they did. This is a proper like report. This is an expert report, data analysis report. From a race science Substack to a coroner's file in 24 days. 2023. The same press printed the myth without checking. At his appointment as Cambridge's youngest black professor, the life story, now being torn apart, ran everywhere as an uplifting exclusive, unable to speak until 11. So I watched something earlier today, which again, it's a very small channel. I think it was called The Nerve, if you can find it on YouTube. She did an interview with a guy who went to school with him, who knew him at school and played football with him, and his younger brother did as well. Was his brother? He said his brother was in the same class and year as him. And he said that this story about him being non-verbal was true. And that he had, I think it was actually his mum, was the special needs teacher. So he had a special needs teacher to help him to read and communicate at school. So he definitely had non-verbal issues. Unable to read or write until 18. Again, I've only seen that guy. I think because of what I watch, this is why I get exposed to the right kind of content, because I'm so careful to curate my algorithm. The Mail's only 2023 Arday article was a glowing lifestyle profile of exactly that story. The Sun and the Telegraph did not cover the appointment at all. Okay, so 2025, the story existed a year ago, held to a specialist standard. There's also a YouTube channel that has done a lot of content about it. He's actually claiming, to be the story breaker. 21st July, a race science blogger lights the fuse. Nathan Colnas, who, by the way, has now been suspended as well. The self-described race realist whose Cambridge College cut ties with him in 2024 over a blog arguing black people would disappear. So this is what this is about as well. It's about eugenics. It's about white supremacy and eugenics. You just cannot see it any other way. This is an agenda being pushed. They're paying for adverts for it, so more people click on it. A blog arguing black people would disappear from almost all high-profile positions in a meritocracy publishes DEI fraud and cover-up at Cambridge on Substack. If you've never been on Substack, I really would not recommend it, by the way. It makes Twitter look calm. Alleging plagiarism in Arday's thesis and papers and disputing his life story. So what was I going to say? It's gone. 24th July. So that was on the 21st of July. We're going to have a look in a minute at the YouTube channel and see when he started. The Telegraph brings it mainstream. Cambridge's diversity poster boy in plagiarism route. 1:46 p.m. Gordon Rayner, The Times, follows 6 hours later. The Mail the same day. A Telegraph commissioned analysis finds more than 100 passages of his PhD identical or nearly identical to a 2009 Brunel thesis. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Again, going back to the Epstein files, look at the conversations that were going on in those emails with the college academics he was in contact with. Similar themes going on there. Superior genetics. Honestly, these people really believe in this stuff. 1st of August, the story becomes his life, not his thesis. The Guardian publishes its investigation into his biographical claims. From here, the coverage is no longer about duplicated paragraphs in a 2015 PhD. It is about his childhood, his autism account, his charity runs, his memoir, his family. Like I said, did they do their research? Did they speak to the guy who's now saying he was at school with them and he can actually corroborate some of these accounts? 8th of August, Cambridge investigates. Arday resigns the same evening. Cambridge announces an investigation following new information about Professor Arday's academic qualifications and honorary appointments. Hours later, Arday resigns his professorship and his Jesus College fellowship with immediate effect, calling it the decision of someone who has reached the limits of what any person should reasonably be expected to endure. And then on the 14th, he is found dead. And the London ambulance service calls the Met Police at 3:12 p.m. And then the Met Police obviously leaked it. Jason Arday is pronounced dead at his home in Battersea. The Met said his death is being treated as unexpected, but is not believed to be suspicious. A file will be prepared for the coroner. Cambridge's vice-chancellor says the university is desperately saddened. Then they've got a whole hour-by-hour account of his last hours. Sorry, I don't want to read all the disturbing stuff, so I'm sort of like flicking through it. Dead, he draws more copy than he did alive, and the pylon has changed hands. The fair question, one day on, did the press slow down once he was dead? It did not. In the 24 hours from the ambulance call, 3:12 p.m., the same 15 outlets published 42 articles, more than double the 20 a day they averaged across his final 9 days alive, and nearly 4 times the pace of the full 22-day census. So I just want to say, like, if we can learn anything, because the people that watch my channel, they're on the whole quite caring, intelligent people. If we can learn anything from this, it's like if you start seeing a whole load of articles about someone, a whole load of headlines about someone, you should be alerted to the fact that this could well be a smear campaign and to treat it very skeptically. But the bylines moved. The Daily Mail, because I know so many people out there are not aware. They're unaware of this stuff. This is why I carry on making my videos. But the bylines moved. The Daily Mail filed 30 pieces in his last 9 days, including the psychiatric speculation on his final morning, then published exactly one in the 24 hours after he died. 4 days on, that has held. The Mail is running 1.3 pieces a day, where it ran 3.3. The Times 2.8, where it ran 3.7. The Telegraph 1.9, where it ran 3.1. The outlets that barely bothered with him while he was alive have taken the story over. The Mirror ran 1 column in his lifetime and has filed 7 since. Sky News has gone from 0.2 a day to 0.6. I don't know how you can have 0.2 of a column. But anyway, The Independent has filed 27, more than any other outlet, and it is the paper carrying what his family say. Within hours of the announcement, his family said in a public statement, as reported that evening, that he had been subjected to a campaign of sustained abuse since taking the Cambridge role. So these are some of the names of people that were speaking about him. Charles Hymas, Albert Tate, Gordon Rayner at the Telegraph, 3 of them. Oh, this is 24 hours after he died. Headline: Jason Arday found dead. The Sun, Bruno Brown. Alice Tomlinson from GB News. Ashley Pemberton, Daily Star. Emily Bashforth. I've got a feeling she's one of these YouTube people. I'm sure she was called Emily. Let me have a quick look. I was like, I don't know who she is. I'm not clicking on it. Oh no, Emily Hewitson. There's a lot of Emilys. Daily Mail, Sam Greenhill. These are just the names to look out for. Sam Greenhill, Rebecca Camber, and Eleanor Harding. Charlotte Beckwar and Adam Toms from the Daily Express. Sky News, there's no name. Daily Mirror, Burke Ewell. Joshua Bratt. BBC News, Tom MacArthur and Branwyn Jeffries. The Guardian, Richard Adams and Vikram Dodd. The Independent, Suha Kidwai. Times Higher Education. Tom Williams, The Sun, Bruno Brown. The Independent Press Association. The Independent, Suha Kidwai. The Independent, Lucy Leeson. The Independent, Rich Amatha. BBC News, Ruth Camerford, Summer Woolley, Sarah Baltrop from the Daily Express, Melanie McDonough, The Spectator, Christopher Mallet, Daily Mirror, Georgia Lambert, Nicola Woolcock, The Times, Sunday Times, Izzy Addison, The Independent, Gemma Jones, Daily Express, Izzy Addison, The Independent, Simon Hamalienko, Daily Star, BBC News, GB News, Finton Starkey, blah, 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 blah. A lot of articles. Okay. I don't recognize any of these names. This is not what accountability journalism sounds like. So that's the excuse that's being used, is that this is holding him accountable. So they're saying this is completely disproportionate. Completely disproportionate. So then they go article by article. Poll of the day. Has criticism of Professor Jason Arday been racially motivated, as he claims? He shouldn't even need to say that. TikToker who says he went to primary school. See, look. TikToker who says he went to primary school with Jason Arday claims plagiarism professor was not mute but a chatty patty in class. Well, as I just said, on a long-form interview that I watched earlier, someone, because he was not like, I'm from the same area, so he was naming specific street names and saying that he was indeed unable to speak at school, and he had a teaching assistant that was his mum, his own mum. You think he's going to go on some tiny channel and just start making that up? Why would he do that? But why has no one else reached out to him? Always cracking jokes. Question raised over Jason Arday's claims he was non-verbal as a child. Jason Arday says he was an illiterate mute child. His schoolmates remember it differently. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So The family, imagine the family, they're grieving and they're having to do this. The family of the Guardian's own witness has come forward. We have put their allegations. The family of the Guardian's own witnesses has come forward. We have put their allegations to paper. I don't know if they're talking about his family. Start with what the Guardian's 12th article shows on its own face. It's challenging witnesses where a YouTuber from the year below, not Arday's class. I'm not being funny yet, but obviously I have done a lot of content about the Blake Lively smear campaign because there was a lot of receipts for that. That's why I did a lot of content about it. We actually had the receipts. We had expert reports. We had text messages. We had correspondence. So there are still people that refuse to believe it was a smear campaign. And there were people on YouTube coming out, or I think she was on YouTube. She was definitely on TikTok, saying she was at school with her and she was not in the same year as her. Same old story. You know, these people are opportunists. Like, oh, I know how to make my TikTok go viral. I'll come out and say, yeah, he could speak at school. On 15th August, the day after his death, News Corp was contacted by a person closely connected to the named supporting witnesses. Their account to us, the witnesses were reliable classmates who went on record in good faith and object to being framed as put up to it. The family has severe misgivings about how the paper approached and dealt with them, including over a follow-up article. The safeguarding risk was failed with The Guardian by Arday himself before publication, and the paper did not act on it, and pressure was applied to the two named witnesses in the course of the paper's inquiries. News Corp has not yet seen that correspondence. We have requested it. Until we have examined it, we assert none of these allegations as fact. That is the standard this page holds the press to, and it binds us to. What we have done is what a newspaper is supposed to do: put the allegations to The Guardian on the record before publishing that they had been made. See what I mean? Okay, so on and on and on. I'm not going to go through everything, but this is just to show that research has been done into how much was invested in this story, and there's got to be a reason for it. Look, this goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. This is the kind of media organization that should be getting donations, not stupid YouTubers and TikTokers. So then they've got all the links here. So this guy, I'll quickly show you. Nathan Confas, that was the article that he wrote on Substack. DEI fraud and cover-up at Cambridge. Well, I already know from like ages ago that a billionaire called Bill Ackman, who literally made billions out of the COVID-19 pandemic, went on US TV and lobbied for everyone to stay home with their families while he could sit back and make billions of profits doing his shady hedge fund deals. Yeah, he's been a staunch supporter of against DEI, I should say. And guess what? His second wife is a college professor who had a research project paid for by Jeffrey Epstein. Would you believe it? Anyway, I don't want to give him too much attention, but I just want you to see what he looks like. So, he's not. Oh, we'll see him on YouTube anyway. He's got over 11,000 subscribers. 11,000 people have subscribed to this shit. Never have I been more proud of not being an academic that can write stupid Substack articles. All right, so that was the housekeeping to show you my research. Now, oh wait, did it show? Oh no, I didn't show you it, sorry. Okay, that was the article there. That's him. You know, how someone like that can have the audacity to talk about genetic superiority. Do me a favor. There he goes. We're probably doing pretty well off the back of this story now. Yeah. First post, who killed Jason Arday? If I don't know, a regular person with compassion would be lying low right now, but not him. All right, so let's go to YouTube now. Let me show you what I see on there. Flipping Richard Blackwood come out the woodwork one day ago. Not heard of him in flipping years. Richard Blackwood, to anyone who doesn't know, he's a UK comedian, I want to say, that went on EastEnders, which is like the biggest soap opera. I think he's related to Naomi Campbell. And I remember when he got kicked out of his flat because he didn't pay his rent, which was in Docklands. That's a really old story. But yeah, I mean, I guess because he was black, I got to hear about that. But anyway. Oh, he's done 2 podcasts about it. Wow. Sky News, Good Morning Britain, flipping Richard Madeley. There's a whole load of, then we've got top news. These are all recent, 1 day ago, 3 days ago, 5 days ago. So this is 3 years ago when it was a news story. So we're going to get onto that as well, because that is part of the overall story. These think tanks that promote this stuff in the first place. I'm actually scared to go near some of these channels. How the Jason Arday narrative is being reframed. Trigonometry clips. This is the guy who exposed Jason Arday. See? He's reveling in the fame right now with all these horrible racist channels. An investigation has been launched into his death 1 day ago. Russell Brand. Jesus. Russell Brand's on it. The New Culture Forum. The whole idea that race undid Jason Arday is for the birds. See, this is the new argument now. They're like, it wasn't racism. We were just telling the truth. Jason Arday did run those marathons and his memoir is out. I mean, that guy did say he started a football team at school and he did play football. So he must have been pretty fit and healthy. So it's possible he could have run a marathon. Whereas like P. Diddy, you're telling me P. Diddy and Gemma Collins and Katie Price ran a marathon with literally no exercise and spending most of their lives partying? Don't hear those kind of stories about them. Dr. Scholar reacts to Trevor Phillips. Well, I know Trevor Phillips is a Zionist. I have to whisper it. He's a Zionist supporter. He has been part of this anti-Semitism epidemic campaign. These are all at the top searches. Stone Cold Pros, 6 hours ago. Jason Arday, pathological liar exposed. They're still at it. Do not watch any of these people's videos. Brett Weinstein, can I say something terrible that I think it's true? No, don't. Save it. Save your breath. Graham Wood, investigative journalism, did not kill Jason Arday. Well, you don't know yet. You don't know yet because they've literally only just launched an investigation. This is the one I was talking about earlier. Emily Hewitson. Outpost. Is this the worst Jason Arday lie? 3 days ago. 735k views 3 weeks ago. Jason Arday whistleblower. People knew the truth and covered it up. Channel 4 News. Racist eugenicist behind Jason Arday's story. Well, yeah, that was who I showed you. Jason Arday exposes academia's biggest problem. Left-wingers exploiting this tragedy. Well, yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong there. That's what I said the other day. These smear campaigns become like psyops, because then what happens is you're forced to take a side when and facts and reality just goes out the window, because it just becomes us versus them. And yeah, they're both doing it. They're both exploiting it. And at the end of the day, there's a man dead now, and his family are grieving about it. Novara Media. So before I carry on, actually, I just want to say, I want to big up, because this woman, she was one of the first people I saw speak about it. So I can't play the video because there's a lot of swearing. I might play a little bit at the end, because she had her own experience of a smear campaign. But yeah, one of her viewers watches my channel because she's been in my live chats before. So yeah, her channel's called Front Page Effery, and yeah, she's done a really good video about it. Well, she's done a few actually, and she also, there was the other video that I saw used bits of her video, but they didn't just use her video, they used a lot of other stuff as well. So okay, let's go back. But she calls out Novara Media. She calls out The Shade Room, which is like a sort of like black, they say they're a black owned like gossip site on Instagram, but I already watched an expose of them ages ago anyway. So that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of these platforms that say they're independent media They're not independent. They're not independent. They have funding. They still have funding. They're still beholden to the people that pays for them. So yeah, this Novara Media. So one of the guys in there, like I'm not going to get into why I've never been a fan of Novara Media, but they are a left-wing channel. I just think that, the funny thing is because I said ages ago, like over a year ago, I talked about this guy, Gary Stevenson. And I'm like, the first red flag to me about Gary Stevenson was that all of these channels were bigging up Gary Stevenson. And it just seemed very suspicious to me. But yeah, so one day I will be vindicated on my research and what I have been saying about Gary Stevenson, because he's a fake. Anyway, inside Cambridge's Professor Arday scandal, why he didn't need to quit the Daily Tea. The Daily Tea, I'm guessing that's the Telegraph podcast. Yeah, so as if they haven't done enough already in the actual paper, they're doubling down in the podcasts. Blah, 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 blah. LBC, the state of politics. Anytime you see a Union Jack in the background, avoid. Even like I noticed, like they use red, white, and blue color schemes. Trust me, you're falling into a racist right-wing trap there. So this woman actually said, "I'm very worried about Jason Arday's mental state after media frenzy." Wow. She was a immigration and human rights lawyer, Jacqueline McKenzie, who signed an open letter in support of him 2 weeks ago. That was on Times New. So I think Times New is like one of these, like, I don't know what it is actually. I don't want to say, but I thought it was one of these like publications that you can literally pay to have AI articles written. But it could be connected to Times Radio, which I think is owned by... I think Times Radio is owned by Murdoch or one of them. See what I mean? Oh, you wouldn't believe who else has gotten in on this as well. Only Megyn Kelly. Yes. The UK is imploding after Jason Arday's death. I love how these flipping American idiots try and tell me what's going on in the UK. And then people in America actually think it's true. And then, like, they started, like, when we had the riots 2 years ago, they genuinely thought there was a civil war going on. I'm like, there's so not a civil war going on. Don't know who that is. Jake Jewel. Don't know who that is. Dan Wootton. Oh my God. Katie Hopkins and Dan Wootton. So Katie Hopkins was on Celebrity Big Brother with Perez Hilton. She is another racist bully whose name I tried to have blocked on Twitter when I used to use it so that I didn't have to read about her, but it didn't even work. So Dan Wootton was again, he's on GB News. He got sacked from GB News. That's how bad his career went. Originally, he was a showbiz reporter, and then he did a bit of catfishing, and one of his exes exposed him, and he was paying for leaked articles on Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. He was doing like £5,000 off the books cash deals for information from someone who, well, not for someone who was a communications director that ended up going to Downing Street, he covered it up, but he worked there at the time. But anyway, yeah, Dan Wootton was the one that outed Johnny Depp or outed Amber Heard as a victim of domestic abuse without her consent, I think, that led to the entire situation that I began this video talking about, the smear campaign. The Johnny Depp because basically Johnny Depp sued The Sun, where Dan Wootton was working at the time, lost, and then went on to sue Amber Heard. And then we saw the Amber Heard smear campaign, and he ended up winning that case. He's now a scammer, by the way. I've already made a video about that. Yeah, Dan Wootton's on the case. Leftists launch Jason Arday race war. Like, as if Dan Wootton is not a blatant racist. With violence calls and attack on talks, Julia Harley the way they love to play the victim when they literally spend their entire lives just bullying, harassing, and talking. Even if it is like true, it's like the most intimate personal details of people's lives that they don't want exposed to millions of people around the world. That's how they make a living. And then when something happens to them, they're like clutching their pearls and crying. Oh, I'm the victim. The Jolly Heretic. If you see that word, that means avoid. Exposed. The Jason Arday lies the media didn't tell you about. I think he's done another one that says he's not a nice person. And I'm like, you don't look like a nice person. It just goes on and on and on. Don't know who that is. We still haven't even got to the main person. Oh, here he is. Right. This guy, history debunked 12 days ago. Right. So let's go and look at his channel. Certainly not going to watch that. If I put into his search, one sec. Jason Arday. Okay, this is how many videos he has made about it. So four weeks ago, 3 months ago. Wait, is that about Jason Arday? No, it's about reform. See, a lot of these people are campaigners for reform. They're paid by think tanks. This guy does pure eugenic racist content. If race is a social construct, how is it that black blood is so different from that of white people? How? What a load of nonsense. This guy is actually claiming that he was responsible for the smear campaign, not Nathan Comfast. Why is Nathan Kofnas being denounced for speaking about a swindler and a crook? I put money on that's what you are. Honestly. Resignation of Jason Arday 3 weeks ago, 6 days ago, 1 month ago. Cambridge University falls for the autistic black genius racket. Whoever clicked on that video, shame on you. 1 year ago, this guy is obviously very into this subject. David Olusoga and Adam Rutherford writing books about anti-racism as a form of therapy. Another one of their theories, which I've seen come up, because I've talked about abuse against women quite a lot on my channel, They have a theory that rape has gone up in this country because of immigrants. It's complete nonsense. Well, so obviously these are not all about Jason Arday, but Britain has found it's George Floyd. Yeah, I've seen people comparing him to George Floyd. Oh, the slow genocide of the English race. I mean, tell me you're a racist without telling me you're not a racist. Did I say that right? Tell me you're a racist without telling me you're a racist. Again, I've seen this agenda over and over, how white working class communities in Britain have deliberately been dismantled. You know, one thing I've liked about living in this area is it's very integrated. My daughter's school was completely integrated. And it's just so sad the way that we've gone backwards now with so much racial division going on day to day. Okay, so what else was I going to show? Right. Oh. This is what the Telegraph said, yeah? Because again, I do not see people talking about these think tanks and these lobbying media groups. Like, that's been the key to me understanding the algorithm. I just don't see anyone else talking about it, even when they're actually doing really good videos. Because what's his name? That's how I sussed onto Gary Stevenson. That's all he talks about. He's like, am I going to do my own think tank? It's like he's basically admitted to leaving the city where he was a stock trader, probably because I guess mentally it was unsustainable. I mean, I'm not read his book, but it didn't work out. So, you know, he's used to earning a lot of money. So then he says he joined a think tank, and then all of a sudden he's built himself up to be an influencer as an economist, a spokesperson for the working class, a spokesperson for the left. And I'm not buying it. I think he cares about himself, and he's literally trying to get himself an appointed role in politics. And he's doing this kind of propaganda content. If you watch his videos closely and see what he's actually saying, it's 100% not supporting anything good. He's literally compared himself to Russell Brand. Anyway, I don't want to go on about him. I just feel like this is my moment to slip it in. So yeah, there was this article on the 2nd of August, and it said chairman of scandal hit think tank helped appoint Cambridge diversity poster boy. So there's a picture of her with Andy Burnham. So another way I found out about this stuff, or something that added to my already understanding of it, because I knew that Candace Owens had worked for Turning Point UK. So Turning Point UK was a right-wing version of it. So I looked at their website, and they were set up to go to colleges and encourage people to use social media to express their opinions or make content in opposition to traditionally left-wing ideology. So basically socialism is what I'm saying. So yeah, basically trying to send us backwards as a society, campaigning against women's right to abortion, being against LGBTQ, obviously racism is strong, genetic superiority, etc., etc. I mean, they can call it whatever they want. It's basically white supremacy, and the people that support the politics are using people that say they're from working class backgrounds to try and relate to working class people, as well as posh people. But they've all got the same goal, which is to pay less tax. Because obviously the more money that is raised from tax is supposed to go towards the share out so that we have a better society. That's the idea behind socialism, although obviously it doesn't work like that. The chairman of a think tank embroiled in a journalism smear campaign was on the panel that appointed Cambridge University's diversity poster boy. Baroness Morgan of Highton, the master of Cambridge Fitzwilliam's College, was one of 9 people responsible for choosing the university's next professor of sociology of education. The candidate that they chose, Professor Jason Arday, is now at the centre of a row over academic plagiarism after the Telegraph revealed he was accused of copying parts of his PhD thesis from a work by another student. Lady Morgan herself was caught up in a recent scandal when the think tank she chaired, Labour Together, commissioned APCO, a public affairs firm, to investigate Sunday Times journalists. So what's become apparent over since the Labour government got in, is that this stuff is happening on the left. It's the drive to push LGBTQ influencers, autism, ADHD, and say that there's like anti-Semitism campaigns when people speak out against what is happening in Palestine. It's funded by pro-Israel organizations, a lot of it. Okay, that's how Keir Starmer got into power in the first place. But yeah, so I did an interview a few months ago. It was actually at New Year's with a guy who was offered money because he had made a video against Tommy Robinson. Or it wasn't even against Tommy Robinson. It just said something about Tommy Robinson, and it wasn't in his favor. So he got sent a message on TikTok, and they were like, would you like to earn money making more videos like that? So he had you can watch the video, but he did an on-screen interview with them, and they had sent him like a kind of brief of like talking points of video titles that he could do. And it was this guy called, it wasn't this guy, Morgan, what's his name? Morgan McSweeney. It wasn't him. So he organized the whole anti-Semitism campaign that happened in the Labour Party that got rid of Corbyn. They just accused people of being anti-Semitic to get rid of them and replace Corbyn with Starmer. Yeah, so the guy that was in charge of interviewing the guy that I did the interview with, his name was... it's gone. Anyway, you can watch it on the video, but he used to be in the IDF. Okay, so these are the people working for the government doing public relations now. But yeah, so I just thought this was an interesting side quest of the story. I mean, obviously they're trying to do this because they know their readers are right wing. So this is going to be like, oh. But this is why I don't support the left either. The inquiry was launched after the newspaper carried a story in November 2023 exposing Labour's Together failure to declare £730,000 in donations at a time when it was headed by Morgan McSweeney, once Sir Keir Starmer's chief of staff. So they had launched an investigation into the Sunday Times journalists who were investigating the story. Detailed reports were prepared that contained personal details about journalists at a number of outlets that reported on irregularities in the think tank's funding. Lady Morgan, who was appointed to the think tank's board in November 2023, responded publicly on behalf of the organisation when the attempts to smear the journalists were made public earlier this year. She told the Telegraph in February that the scope of work carried out by APCO was indefensible, adding, "The board was not shown the contract with APCO, nor was the APCO report shared with the board." Lady Morgan added that Labour Together had instituted several improvements to our operations following a governance review since she took over. It has since rebranded as Think Labour. So, what did I do? I looked up Think Labour. Think Labour, formerly known as Labour Together and Common Good Labour, is a British think tank closely associated with the right wing of the Labour Party. Founded in June 2015 with the initial aim of bridging Labour factions, it switched its focus to opposing the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn and later supported Keir Starmer in the 2020 Labour Party leadership election. So this is why, before the election even happened, oh, sorry, I'm getting confused. Supported Keir Starmer in the 2020 Labour Party leadership election. Yeah, so Keir Starmer took over during COVID. They got rid of Corbyn. But what I was going to say is I already knew that in 2024 that Labour were going to get in. I didn't even vote because I was like, what's the point? I already know. I'm being told every day. I've been told every day for like however long it was over a year. They kept saying it. It works to measure public opinion and develop political policy. Public opinion, you see? Its leading architect was Morgan McSweeney. The group supported Labour in the 2024 election as well as for a second term in government. It is regarded by The Guardian, Politico, The Times and Business Insider as a highly influential group upon the Starmer-led Labour Party and seen as an incubator of its 2024 manifesto. It has sought to resemble the centre-right think tank Onward. I'm just saying, like, if anyone's working for a think tank, you cannot trust them because they've got an agenda and they're making money out of it. And that is Gary Stevens. As Labour Together, he works for Patriotic Millionaires, which is run by, and it's been going for 13 years. I'm like, they're not doing a very good job. It's run by Abigail Disney. She's like an heiress to the Disney dynasty. But I just don't understand why me saying that shouldn't be like a red flag to people. They're like, well, you haven't explained it very well. Okay, I'm not saying any more. I'm not saying any more. There's no such thing as a good millionaire or billionaire. As Labour Together, the group failed to declare £730,000 of donations for a millionaire venture capitalists and businessmen between 2017 and 2020. The organisation was fined and found guilty of over 20 separate breaches of the law. In 2025, it was reported that they had paid private investigators to run a smear campaign against prominent journalists investigating Operation Red Shield, Labour Together's campaign to marginalise the Labour left. the organisation rebranded to Think Labour in 2026. Okay? You know what I mean? You say, who talks about this? Who talks about this on their YouTube videos? No one. I've put it in comments. I've tried to open up conversation about it because I'm like, I genuinely don't know if they don't know about it or they're playing ignorant because they're secretly in league with them or doing work for them. It's just really difficult to know, but I think everyone should disclose it. I really do. If you want trust to come back into media. Okay, so moving on. Do I need to read the rest of that article? I don't really want to read all of it because then it was going on about Jason Arday again, and I don't really want to give them the I don't really want to give them the airtime because it's just going over the details of his life, which I just don't think it's appropriate now. I think just leave the guy in peace. Right. So this article was something else that came up in my research, which is Stop Funding Hate. So this is about the Telegraph. And it says Telegraph deletes latest misleading article about hashtag Stop Funding Hate. So when is this from? I don't actually know when this is from. Since hashtag Stop Funding Hate supporters first began challenging GB News, we've had a series of misleading attacks by UK media outlets sympathetic to the controversial TV channel. In 2021, the Telegraph falsely claimed that Stop Funding Hate was summoned by the CIC regulator over our GB News campaign just a few weeks ago. The newspaper also ran an article wrongly suggesting that Stop Funding Hate had received taxpayers' cash. The Telegraph has previously lashed out at Stop Funding Hate supporters for organising what it called a sinister boycott of GB News, and even more absurdly, aired commentary suggesting that our community's success in persuading private companies not to advertise on the channel is a threat to democracy. We generally take the view that misleading attacks from toxic outlets like the Telegraph are a sign that hashtag Stop Funding Hate campaign is having an impact and are likely to be widely seen in that light. However, last week, March 23rd, the Telegraph ran a story accusing Stop Funding Hate of amplifying social media accounts that had posted anti-Semitic content. The article also made other damaging claims about the campaign. So their definition of anti-Semitic, like I said, is anyone that speaks out about the genocide, anyone that speaks out about the arms factories in Bristol and other places in the UK. They call that anti-Semitic. They call it terrorist. As we spelled out in our response, at least the portion included in the article, Stop Funding Hate would never knowingly amplify a social media account that was spreading problematic content. So this was one of the biggest arguments in the Blake Lively smear campaign was about Justin Maldoni paying an extra 30 grand a month for a period of at least, I want to say 6 months, for a digital fixer who was amplifying content that was supporting him and smearing Blake Lively. And seeding comments. Seeding comments was one of the main ways that the smear campaign kicked off in the summer of 2024. which, just like I've noticed with the Jason Arday story, I noticed about her. I noticed there's all these videos being shown to me about how bad her hair care line was and all this other stuff, and she was a bully, and it was just seemed very unnatural to me because I've never shown any interest in her. She's kind of like someone who's just like jogged along in her acting career and never really done anything too disturbing. Definitely not when you start looking, just as like with the Jason Arday case, when you start looking at other college professors that have done all this sexual misconduct stuff that people just ignore. It's just disproportionate. But that's how they do it. It's very, very simple. They use anonymous accounts. It's untraceable. They boost videos. They boost content. And all of a sudden, the whole of the internet is flooded with it, whether it's on the news platforms or the social media platforms. And then you've got them paying for adverts. It's a fundamental principle that Stop Funding Hate opposes all form of hate, including anti-Semitism, and that the campaign must be inclusive of people from all communities. While we know that the Telegraph is seen by many to be far less credible than it once was, we still felt that this particular misleading article, if left unchallenged, could lead to confusion and concern about Stop Funding Hate's activities. We have repeatedly asked the Telegraph to send us the links to the social media post on which it based the story so we could investigate any problematic comments by third parties on our pages. To date, it has not done so. The Telegraph has now deleted its latest misleading article and agreed to pay our legal costs. Stop Funding Hate will continue working to oppose all forms of media hate, including anti-Semitism, as we told the Telegraph, although it only included this in the online version of the story and left it out of the print edition. Stop Funding Hate has recently been challenging GB News over a video on the GB News YouTube channel, which aired dangerous anti-Semitic rhetoric. I can believe it. If you work in marketing, you can take action by excluding GB News from your YouTube advertising. In the meantime, we would encourage everyone, including other UK media outlets, to avoid relying on the Telegraph as an authoritative source. Now more than ever, Britain urgently needs a media that tells the truth and reports accurately and fairly. Yeah, well, we're not getting it, are we? That's why I have to keep making my videos, which get like 100 views, if I'm lucky. Right. So, yeah, I just realized I forgot to say Kelechi's name. So this woman's name is Kelechi Okafor. I actually met her in real life. I went to it wasn't a protest, it was an event. It was an event, the Not My King. It was the Not My King event, and she was the host. And I really enjoyed her hosting, and I enjoyed her speaking. And you know I'm not the best at public speaking, but this is another thing that I wanted to make a video about. Speaking of that guy, that YouTube channel, History Debunked, actually, let me go back to that for 1 second, because this is another very worrying trend that is going on YouTube. Yeah, it's like people like him who are rewriting history, literally rewriting history. And I come across the other day, so another thing I wanted to make a video about is how much the Daily Mail as an organization is investing in online content, like social media content, as opposed to their actual news platforms. Disturbing amounts of money. And I come across this guy, I forget what his name is, but that's why I was going to make a video about it. But he was like, he had this channel where he's rewriting like historical when I say rewriting, he's retelling like events that have happened. And he's got a very good speaking voice. And then I was like, who is this guy? Because I need to find out who's behind these channels. I need to find out if they're trustworthy and credible. And then I found out that he's done a whole thing on like how to make good social media content. And yeah, it's nothing to do with being factually correct. It's about your public speaking ability. But yeah, so she has good public speaking ability. And I've been following her channel ever since. I'm not logged in to this YouTube right now, as you can see. That's why it says subscribe. But anyway, so she's made some very good content about Jason Arday. She's been calling out the media publications that needed to be called out. As I said, it's a little bit strong on the swearing. So I thought I could just play this bit, which is her talking about going on BBC Women's Hour and what happened there. So let's have a look.
I've been invited on to talk about it alongside two other people. One person was from some kind of organization and one other person was like one writer dickhead. Anyway, so we're waiting. We get onto the call. The producer checks that our mics and our cameras are working. And they're like, okay, let's wait for Emma to arrive. So just turn off your camera, turn off your microphone, and we'll start in a bit. Emma Barnett comes into the studio, doesn't realize that we are online, right? And she sits down and she looks at the list of people who are going to be on. And she was just like, fucking Kelechi Okafor, why the
fuck? You see what I mean? I didn't realize you guys were in the chat. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry, I've been ignoring you. Hi, Julia. Late to the party. Listen, better late than never, hun. You'll catch up with live streams over. Yeah, good to see you. What's that about Megyn Kelly as the pits? I know. I mean, it's just so funny because to me, post that comment. To me, I had never heard of Megyn Kelly until I started following what was going on with Blake Lively smear campaign, and she's been such a big part of it, you know, and the fact that her lawyer's Brian Friedman, who's behind a lot of these smear campaigns. If anyone hasn't watched my other content, they're watching this because of Jason Arday. Brian Friedman is a California-based lawyer who represents the Michael Jackson estate. So they use smear campaigns against Michael Jackson's victims. Megyn Kelly is the pits. She's smart enough to know exactly what she's doing, right? A lot of these people, I look at Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan's the same. Piers Morgan, this is so much. It's not just about racism, but about classism. It's about how much money people have. Piers Morgan and Dan Wootton, if they didn't have money, they would be locked up. Don't get me started on Dan Wootton. I've never forgotten him. All right. Caroline Flack. Yeah. Bullying, harassing. Lily Allen as well. And you know, Dan Wootton used to be besties with Melissa Nathan. Would you believe? There's plenty of this all over her old Twitter account. Right, let's go back to Kelechi.
Is she going to be on? Why the fuck is she going to be on the show today? Wasn't she the one that got kicked off the Top of the Pops for being an anti-Semite? That's when I had to put my camera back on and put my microphone back on. And I was like, Emma, I'm here. And the person you're talking about is a black man. You're talking about a black man. You're not talking about me, right? You're not talking about me. What you're trying to talk about regarding me, I made a careless statement, but the point that I was trying to make still remains. How I articulated the point, no bueno, right? She was like, okay, calm.
Did you see that? The way she said that in the UK, Women's Hour is like a women's, I don't want to say women's rights, but it's like for women. It's supposed to be a program dedicated to women. And the presenter accused her of being anti-Semitic because they're just trying to ram it down at every opportunity they have. They're trying to convince anyone who'll listen that anti-Semitism in the UK is rampant right now.
Calm down. I was like, don't speak to me like that. Don't do that, because I'm not raising my voice. Don't speak to me like that. Eventually, I just came off the call. And then I tweeted that, you know what, I'm not going to be on Women's Hour today because the way that I was just spoken about was disgusting. I'm not going to be on there. Instead of people like recognizing that, what has been done there or whatever happened was crazy, the BBC launched a smear campaign on me immediately. Oh no, Emma Barnett was in her journalistic rights to question, Kelechi Okafor and the allegations of this, that, and the third. Oh, was she? And she categorically did not swear. So I put in a subject access request. She categorically did not swear. You have cameras in the studio where she was that she was in. Microphones are on where she was in. So between the hours of 10 something, I think I said like 10 something to 10 something, right? I want to know if any of your recorded camera footage and microphones caught the term Kelechi, fucking, fuck, top of the pops, Okafor. Did it catch these words in that time frame? They came back and said, whilst record of that might exist, we can't give it to you because it might be needed one day. It's protected by journalistic kind of code of whatever, that it might be needed one day for journalism, so they can't hand it over. So she did say that about me, is what you're saying, but you've gone out to the public, you've written back to everybody who filed a complaint, because numerous people filed a complaint about how I was treated, right? And then every newspaper started running with it. I'm seeing my face on the fucking Daily, whatever the fuck, the Sun or whatever, and they're like, who is Kelechi Okafor? And they're using a picture where I'm holding my child, but luckily I don't put my child's face online, right? But they started doing this fucking bullshit.
Okay. Go and check her out. She's very good value. Right. Before I go, I had to look up who she was talking about. Emma Barnett. So, like I said, Women's Hour. She's a presenter of Women's Hour, which is like the BBC. It's like highbrow women's issues. The maddest fact about Emma Barnett, her parents ran a string of brothels. This is 100% verified. I just looked it up. Emma Barnett, her parents ran a string of brothels. Her dad went to prison for 3 years and her mum has a conviction for money laundering. Presumably, this activity helped them pay for Emma's free fees at private school, privilege for some, misery for others. This is in 2024. To become one of the BBC's big name, lavishly paid presenters, the only hard and fast criterion is that you have never had a thought in your life and you are aggressively proud of that fact. I mean, I just want to know how the hell I can't. By the way, guys, really, really bad news. X cancel, which is what I use to access Twitter, because I don't have a Twitter account. I really don't want to get one again. Has been taken offline by a cease and desist, so I now cannot get access to X anymore at the moment until that changes. So this is literally all you can see before the flipping thing gets in the way. Yeah, but I just want to know, how does someone whose parents have had a career of sex trafficking and got off very lightly by the looks of it, 3 years, sex trafficking and financial fraud, like literally gone to prison, literally convicted, right? Not accused, prison and conviction. How is she the presenter of the women's rights program on the BBC? Kind of a dumb question, I know. But anyway, yeah, so I think I will leave it there. But I just thought that was my mini little deep dive into the smear campaign against Jason Arday and how disproportionate the coverage of him was and what he did compared to a lot of other stuff that goes on. All right. Oh, one more comment. Yeah, you didn't know that Friedman represented Michael Jackson estate. Oh yeah, has done for years. I mean, I did a whole like deep dive on it because it wasn't just that. He represented the brothers, one of the Casio brothers, and the brother-in-law who made the Michael Jackson tracks when he was still alive that they used for the posthumous album. And Friedman represented them. That's why they trusted him. That's why they trusted him to represent them after the Neverland documentary come out. Because they were too trusting. So they didn't realize how he operated. And what he does is he like pays people off and gets them to sign contracts that they can't get out of with arbitration clauses. That's what's happened in this Casio case right now. Friedman stitched them up. That's why they're suing him or trying to. But yeah, Friedman has been involved with them for years, and he's good friends with Mark Garagos as well, who's also represented Michael Jackson and a whole bunch of other sex traffickers and sex offenders. You'd believe that Melissa Nathan has numerous powerful friends, connections, personal friend and Daily Mail editor, her sister works for Page Six, etc. Yeah, I know. I wonder how things are going right now, though, because you know, she really kind of disgraced herself. It wasn't just she disgraced herself, because I mean, the thing is with them is like they have no morals, so they don't really care about that. It's the fact that she like got caught. That's the thing. She got caught, and once you get caught with these people, they turn their back on you. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know, because I did a little bit of a mini investigation into whether she still works at Tag PR, because I'm not sure if she does or not, but I don't think she does. I think she may have been got rid of. He's definitely not to be trusted. No, but the problem is like, you know, speaking of smear campaigns, the Casio family, oh my God, the stuff I read about them in the comments. Because a lot of people don't understand. They don't understand that these defense lawyers behind the scenes, I mean, Friedman is more of an estate litigation lawyer, but he's in league with defense lawyers. So they play dirty. They play dirty as hell. Like, what's his name? The other one, Martin Singer, is his partner in crime. And that's why they don't think it's a smear campaign. They just come out with this nonsense like they're just doing it for money. One more comment. She's been caught red-handed, but how many people even knew who she is? Yeah, but it's a small world. It's a small world, and I think that her name is probably mud right now. I bet people will listen to her, but she's just been shown to be such a snake and so untrustworthy because she was lying to everyone to cover her own ass. I mean, the depositions, my God. But then look what happened with the Mail journalist, Vitushka, James Vitushka. I ain't heard of him since. I ain't seen him since. He said he's broke now. He can't get a job. So he's now suing the Daily Mail. I read through his lawsuit the other day, but he thought he could trust Friedman and Melissa Nathan, and that did not end up well for him. So yeah, I don't know. I think her treachery era might be over, but maybe I'm too hopeful. I don't know. But that's why I keep on talking about it. I keep on reading the documents, and I keep on making content about it, because I'm actually following the facts. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you all soon. So I think the next one I'm going to do is going to be about this content creator called James English, who's been caught. Well, he's not been caught. He's been convicted of domestic violence. Okay, see you then. Bye. Take care.